Thanks for watching another episode of Builds by Bailey, and welcome to part 2 of rebuilding the axle for the Toyota Corolla. We're going to try and get these axles taken apart first thing today, and then we'll just go from there. We'll see what else we can get done. So now I'm going to take my cutoff wheel, and we're going to cut that bearing retainer, I don't know what you call it, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a cut in it. So it'll weaken it and it'll allow it to open up, and then we can put it back in the press and slide it off the end. We'll do it to this one, see if it works in the press. If it does, then we'll do it to the other one. If we can't get it off, we'll just make another cut on the opposite side, and then it'll be in 2 pieces and it'll fall off. So we're going to go ahead and start and do that. We made a quick little cut in that piece, and you can't really see down in there, but you can barely see when it nicks through because the 2 metals are different densities. This is actually kind of soft, so it surprised me that I couldn't press it off, but yeah, it cut real fast. So now we're going to put it in the press, and we're going to press the pieces off. So I have the axle put into the press, and I've got a disc brake off of, I think it's a Honda Accord, something that I've done in the past, but the hat will go down, or the surface of the axle will go down inside of the disc brake pretty well. So I've got it supported, and then I've got the piece that goes onto the wheel bearing to actually slide it off. I've got it clamped in, and I've got it risen up about 2 inches, so there's enough room for the actual axle to drop down into that disc brake. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to press that out now and see if it moves. If it doesn't, we'll just cut the other side and get it off of there. Well, the first time didn't work. I had the tool set up down in the groove where the bearing used to be at. So now I've moved it up to the flange right where that piece is at. Hopefully we can press that off, and then we can press the bearing off. Maybe there's just too much friction holding it on there. That's what I'm hoping, at least. But we're going to try and press this off now. So as you can see, this is the little spacer piece. You can see the cut that I made in it, and you can see daylight through it a little bit. You don't want to cut all the way through. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Well, you don't want to cut all the way through it, all the way across. I mean, I cut just a little bit, but on my outer edges, you can see the burn marks where the metal got hot, but it didn't go all the way through. So that way, the theory is it'll spread apart at that time and it'll slide right off as you saw. So now we're going to try and get the other part off. Okay, as you can see, got both of the pieces off. The second half came right off as soon as we got the other part off of it. I took off the little shield. I'm going to sandblast that, and we're going to clean all this up and get it ready so we can turn the hat portion of it down, or the flange, or whatever you want to call it, so we can turn that down so it'll fit into the new brakes. Well, I've got both of the bearings off and the retainers. I took the flanges off. It's got a little dip in the flange, and that is, I guess, to let moisture come out or something. Or if it leaks, you'll be able to tell it. I don't know what it's for, but there's like a paper gasket on the back side of this I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a little grinder wheel, and I'm going to scrape that stuff off real quick, and then clean these up with some brake clean so I can take them and go sandblast them. Same, I'm going to take my wire brush and I'm going to go over all these pieces and get all the loose stuff off and bag everything up, and then I'm going to run over to work. Today's Sunday, so it's closed, but I have a key. So I'm going to go over to work and I'm going to sandblast all of these components and get them ready so I can spray some paint on them. So let's clean these pieces up real quick and get boxed up and run over to my work. Okay, now we're going to clean them up with a little bit of brake cleaner and box them up. Okay, so I made it to my sandblaster. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knock the rust and stuff off of the flanges on the axles. I've got a couple of the brackets for the disc brake conversion that I'm going to go ahead and put a finish on those so that it's even, because they were sitting for a little bit before I got them. And then those little covers that you saw that go onto the axle. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sandblast all that stuff real fast, and then we'll go back and we'll paint it. So in a sense, that's what we're doing to them. We're taking all the rusty scale stuff off and we're making it look a lot better. Now you can see there's etching in it where the rust was, but I'm not too worried about that. We're going to put a really good coating on it and that'll keep that from growing. But since it's sandblasted, it's kind of pushed out. I'm only using glass bead, so it basically polishes it up a little bit more than scuffing the surface kind of thing. So it puts a new finish on it. So it'll basically, we'll transfer everything from that to that. So now I'm back over at the house. I went ahead and I pulled my pieces out. As you can see, they're not all rusty anymore. These pieces turned out real well, all sandblasted up. I'm going to hit them with a little bit of 80 grit sandpaper on the DA real quick, and then finish that off with 180 on the DA, just to kind of smooth it up a little bit more, make it look a little bit better. Same with the flanges on the axles. I'm going to go over all of that on both sides. Not worried about the shaft section of it because that's inside, and I feel like there's a coating on it and I don't want to take that coating off. So I'm going to go over those parts really quick. Then we're going to wipe them off with some wax and grease remover and spray some paint on them so that can protect them. Okay, so I got all the pieces sanded down. I got them taped up and put on this fender stand. I just have the pieces kind of sitting on it. kind of made some little homemade hooks real quick to hang the pieces. I can turn the axles and get all the edges on it and they won't fall off. I've got them tied on the backs. But everything's ready. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna spray a coat of self-etch primer first because it's bare metal, and then we're gonna go back over it with semi-flat black. I'm putting the coats on fairly light so I can go back quickly and put another coat on. Just want this stuff to flash off just enough, put another coat on, and then we'll put probably 2, maybe 3 coats on. Then once that's good and dry, then we'll go ahead and we'll go straight to the black. Okay, so all the pieces have now flashed off with the self-etch primer. That's why they have that green color. So they're ready to spray. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put some semi-flat black on. Corolla has probably the best flat black paint that I've ever bought in a spray can. Tends to be a little pricey, but sometimes it's hard to find. The only place that I've ever found it is either on Amazon or on O'Reilly Auto Parts. So it is Corolla's semi-flat rust tough enamel. If I can get it to focus. Enamel, but you can spray this stuff on bare metal. Since these parts, I want them to kind of have a little bit more protection. That's the reason why I put the self-etch on it first. Just because if I have to take these parts on and off a bunch while I have this thing at the track or something, I don't want them to get rusty and that kind of stuff. So this extra protection. So let's go ahead and let's put some black on. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Builds by Bailey. Thank you guys for watching me prep all these parts and get them painted. Now that I have the axles apart, now I can go ahead and I can find a machine shop somewhere here in town. I can have the outside diameter cut down to fit so that part will fit into the disc brake. After I get that done, then it's all reassembly. I'll probably clean up the rear axle too in the meantime, so you might get to see some of that. But for the most part, these parts turned out great. They're nice and black now. They're shiny. They don't look like there's any rust on them, which is great. So it's all ready, going back together. So once again, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.